Hello, I'm Rick Hamilton with the August edition of Business Journal. This month's lead story, AMPS, is coming to Detroit. AMPS is advanced mobile phone service. Since 1970, AT&T has spent almost $200 million developing AMPS and has now filed plans with the FCC to offer it nationwide. The new company, AMPS Incorporated, will be wholly owned by AT&T. AMPS will be responsible for the design and construction of AMPS systems and will also service those systems. After divestiture, AT&T will transfer the service responsibility to the Bell operating companies. AT&T has applied for FCC approval to operate AMPS systems in 29 major metropolitan areas, including Detroit. Under FCC rules, 2 licenses will be granted in each market. One will be reserved for 2 years for the local telephone company, and a second will be awarded to the best qualified non-telephone company. By June 7th, there were 196 applications for the 29 market openings. Obviously, there's a great deal of interest in AMPS. We asked Ray Norton, District Manager, Network Engineering, to explain the difference between present mobile service and AMPS.
The basic difference between cellular service today and mobile service today is there's no operator involvement. There need not be any operator involvement. It provides all of the basic services that are available within a central office today. And it does provide practically a unlimited calling capability, no blocking.
The blocking Ray mentioned is the major problem with present mobile service. With only 23 mobile channels in the state and thousands of mobile customers, there is little chance of completing a call on the first attempt. AMPS avoids this problem through better use of the available channels and the wizardry of an electronic switching system. AMPS service will also be as efficient and trouble-free as your home telephone. Jim Pepper, AMPS product manager, explains.
And AMPS, by the way, will give you the same quality connection you get from your office telephone right now. You won't get dial tone because you don't need it. You'll set your number up on the set. You'll be able to see it displayed. When you're sure it's set up the way you want it, then you hit the start button, and this ESS controller will take those digits and put the call through for you. As you move from one cell to another, this ESS controller back here senses the strength of your signal and hands you off. It assigns a different channel to you as you go along so that your call is continuous. So if you're traveling all the way through the service area, from, say, the northeast section of town, diagonally all the way down across to the southwest area, you may go through 4 or 5 different cells, and you may use a dozen different channels, but you'll never know it.
AMPS was tested in Chicago, Illinois. Under an experimental tariff, it was offered at rates of approximately $50 a month for local service, which included 120 minutes of usage. Additional usage cost 25 cents a minute. Those Chicago customers were delighted with the service and the value.
I can manage my business right from my truck. A customer will call me. If I don't answer right away, the job will go to someone else. I'm able to take the call right now, call my customer back, and because of AMPS, I can get the business. If you're talking about a truck getting 4 or 5 miles to the gallon, and if you drive out an extra 20 miles out of your way, say 10 miles going to find a phone and 10 miles coming back, this does consume quite a bit of fuel, and this is only one phone call.
Although no Michigan rates have been set, they are expected to be similar to those used in Chicago. Jim Pepper commented on AMPS profitability.
And it looks like a real important revenue stream. We can't throw dollar figures around, but with the number of customers that we can foresee, I think we told the FCC that in the Detroit, Ann Arbor mobile service area, by 1990, we would have some 73,000 units in service. Not customers, but units in service. Well, at the kind of rates I talked about and the kind of usage, 25 cents a minute and so forth, we can look for a very nice revenue stream.
After FCC approval, construction will begin and AMPS will probably be available by 1985. On the national scene, more than 3,000 representatives of the Communications Workers of America gathered in Detroit's Cobo Hall during mid-July for their 44th annual convention. Some of the issues discussed at this year's convention were public employees' pension plan legislation, international trade and investment, and the Equal Rights Amendment. Delegates also heard such speakers as former Vice President Walter Mondale and U.S. Senator John Glenn. We asked Glenn Watts, president of CWA, why Detroit was selected as the convention site.
Well, we were in Detroit a couple of years ago, 1980 as a matter of fact. Everybody enjoyed it very much. It's a good town. Economic conditions have gotten worse since then, and we thought one of the things that we could demonstrate to the country is the problem of the national economy by being here in the midst of it and describing it to the people around the world, and in particular our own members. But I think most of all we came back because we like Detroit.
BJ also interviewed Lou Knecht, CWA Secretary-Treasurer, about the union's requirements for a convention city.
We have to be in a city where there are at least 3,000 union hotel rooms. We have to have a hall with 60,000 square feet so we can set it up the way it is set up. And of course we have to also have a single hotel that's large enough to hold a minimum of 1,000 people for our headquarters hotel. And Detroit meets those specifications.
Lou also mentioned another Detroit resource that's important to a successful convention.
I always look to see how our members react. And the employees of Michigan Bell, who are our members, have really worked extremely hard.
There's preparing for the reception, the dance, and, entertaining the delegates in their off hours, as well as, getting across your own emotions and your own views. But also doing the passing of the resolutions, because I'm a firm believer that the resolutions not only need to be passed, but implemented.
Business Journal asked Glenn Watts if he had a message for MBT employees.
Well, I sure do. There's a great deal of frustration on the part of people who work in the Bell system currently because of the unknown, this whole business of divestiture or no divestiture and the Worthville resolution, House Resolution 5158. And while I have no doubt that people are going to be working for different employers, maybe the same people, but different employers as the Bell system is reorganized, and perhaps even in different locations in the same city. And while undoubtedly there will be some relatively short-term dislocations, I'm very optimistic about the future, and it's really that optimism I'd like to leave with everybody.
Also on the national scene, the Bell system has announced its plans to provide an improved picture phone meeting service, PMS. The new service will be available in 14 cities this year, including Detroit. Introducing the new service, Robert Casale, AT&T National Director Business Sales, predicted that picture phone meeting service will be one of the most innovative and worthwhile business tools of the decade. It is an excellent opportunity for companies to increase the effectiveness and productivity of their managers. In contrast to the video teleconferencing service that was trialed last year in 12 cities, the new PMS offering provides a dedicated network with more features. It is a digital, full-color offering that will be provided to customers via satellite and land facilities. PMS will be made available in two ways. Customers may use public rooms, which involve a room rental charge and a charge on a per-use basis, or customers can choose to build rooms on their own premises. The cost of a customer premises room includes a one-time installation charge, monthly equipment and access line charges, and usage charges for each call. Any room, public or customer-owned, can be linked with any other compatibly equipped room on the network. By the end of 1983, the service will be available in another 28 cities. Charges for a customer using a public room in Washington and a public room in New York to conduct a one-hour meeting would be $1,340. A similar meeting between New York and Los Angeles would cost $2,380. The rising costs of airfare and lodging for group meetings make these rates more attractive than ever. Centrex will figure prominently in Michigan Bell's marketing plans. MPSC approval of the Centrex rate stabilization tariff and most recently the Baby Centrex tariff have made this service even more attractive. Business Journal interviewed Jack DaQuano, product manager for Centrex. We noted that recently Centrex tariff changes have received prompt approval. VJ asked Jack to speculate on the reasons.
We've taken the strategy that we're trying to enhance the Centrex product line. We're trying to offer new features to the marketplace. We feel that the service is profitable, and so we've kind of gone to the commission and asked that, told them that was our reason behind it, and asked for them to look at the tariffs and to approve them, and they cooperated with us.
MBT has received approval to offer a Baby Centrex. BJ asked Jack to describe it and explain what it means to our marketing program.
It's a small Centrex, baby Centrex as it's been called, and it goes from 2 lines to 149 lines, and it's available to any customer served by a number 1 or number 2 ESS office. And it'll provide a lot of features, the Centrex features now to the smaller customer that we never did provide before in Michigan. We're going to provide direct inward dialing, automatic identified outward dialing, and many of the Centrex features, in fact all of the Centrex features, to the smaller customers.
Jack also told us that MBT plans to file tariffs for 2 new features, an electronic console, the 50B, and another feature similar to the Dimensions CAP system, which will permit customers to make routine changes in their Centrex system without MBT involvement. This month, applause to the first 4 account executives certified in Michigan Bell. They are Greg Miller, Retail District, Mike Miller, Education District, Ann Obi Pavelka, Education District, and Barb Wenson, Transportation District. These 4 are now officially recognized as industry consultants and communications experts. More applause to Ed Foss, Industry Manager, Upper Peninsula. You'll remember our report in January on the extraordinary efforts by all departments which resulted in a Dimension 2000 installation being completed in record time at Sawyer Air Force Base. Those efforts have paid off. Another Dimension 2000 has been installed at Wurtsmith Air Force Base. Best of all, it appears that this may trigger the sale of 25 Dimension 2000s nationwide to other Air Force bases. Rumors that we have told the Air Force that Dimensions are cheaper by the dozen are completely unfounded. In feedback this month, BJ learned of what may be a unique situation. Dan Gonos, Director of Communications at Detroit Sinai Hospital, sent a letter to Michigan Bell about the breakup of the Bell system. No, not the National Bell System, Sinai's Bell System. It seems that the installation foreman, Pat Schloff, and the installation technician, Pete Second, were retiring with a total of 76 years of service. Marty Bigman, the repair technician, would be losing his teammates, and BJ visited the team while it was still intact. Sinai Hospital is located on Detroit's northwest side. Last year, it admitted 21,000 patients for medical care. It first opened its doors in 1953, and already a young installer named Pat Schloff was on the job caring for Sinai's telephone system, the most modern cord board available. Since then, Pat has been involved with every cutover at Sinai. The hospital now has a Centrex, Pat is a supervisor, and he has helpers, Pete and Marty, to take care of Sinai. Over the years, they have routinely done the impossible. 2-week intervals have been reduced to 8 hours, and the trouble rate has been reduced by more than 75%. We asked Dan how he felt about the retirements.
Leaves a real void. Marty and Pete have worked with the people here at Sinai better than anybody else that I've dealt with in my 3 years here. It was possible to get things done really in Sinai's time frame rather than the usual MBT time frame, and that really has added to the hospital. It's going to take any new person a good while to get acclimated, and I have to believe that the degree of cooperation that we've gotten from these guys is something totally unique.
Perhaps it wasn't so unique. BJ asked Pat Schloff about what made this team so successful.
We've had both are system techs. One is installation, one is repair. They are primarily permanently located over here. They work together, which here years ago a repairman was a repairman, an installer was a installer, and nobody moved over the line.
Pete, the installer, and we work together very well. He'll help me with some of the repairs. I'll help him with the installation, and the work just gets done. We've done work where the order hasn't even been issued yet, and Dan Gonos, the communications director, he needs a department moved or some other work done right away. We'll just go ahead and do the work, and the order might be issued a week or 2 later, but the job's already been done.
You know what they want, things like that. You learn as you go. Of course, you got to know how to get along with people. That's number one in order to work in a place steady like this, you know. And you got to have the right personality.
But the tremendous cooperation exhibited between the two craftsmen we've had over here has lent a lot of expert installation and repair work over here. The Repair report rate that was over at Sinai Hospital has dropped extremely, dramatically, practically non-existent, because the trouble is intercepted before it happens.
Marty Bigman explains the attitude which has made this Bell team so successful.
I like to say I've been given carte blanche to do whatever has to be done over here. I order my own equipment, and just whatever has to be done, I do, and that's it.
In other feedback this month, a viewer suggests that we recognize the contribution of the order typing group. This month, our special report looks at a system which depends on the order typing group, the Automated Sales Implementation System. And in the future, we will be examining a service order entry center in detail. Thanks for the suggestion. How about you? You know of an interesting story? Or do you have a comment or question on one of this month's stories? Send a note to the editor, Business Journal, room 1812, 1365 Cass, Detroit, Michigan 48226. We appreciate your suggestions. For those of you leaving us now, have a good discussion. This month's special report for the BSCs is about two new systems which offer glimpses of the future. They are ASIS, which stands for Automated Sales Implementation System, and KDE, or Key Detail Elimination. ASIS is intended to mechanize the ordering process for Dimension PBXs. When a marketing representative secures a contract from a customer agreeing to install a Dimension, the marketing representative is responsible for the preparation of various documents which describe the hardware and software needed to build the system requested by the customer. Those forms are complex and time-consuming, and accuracy is essential. This information is then typed into an ASIS terminal. The ASIS computer then begins a series of edits, checking the design of the system to ensure that all parts are compatible. If there were any errors, it's back to the drawing board. June Scales is a manager in the PBX Engineering District. We asked her about ASIS.
ASIS completes 17 sections, or 40%, of the traffic order that we have to send to Western. The first thing it does, it improves the billing procedure. And then number two, it's supposed to sort of downsize on the engineering time that's spent.
By handling the simpler engineering problems, ASIS makes more engineering time available for complex problems. ASIS has other advantages also. Business Journal visited the East BSC to discuss ASIS.
ASIS saves a lot of time for everyone involved. It makes order writing a lot easier.
The computer does cross-checks, and the equipment has to balance before we can get a successful audit.
When a customer now makes a change on a cut after the machine's been shipped, we can bill the customer correctly. We can bill them for the work that was done at the factory and for the translations that are done here locally in Michigan. We can also make sure that the customer has the appropriate amount of hardware. A lot of things can be overlooked when it's being done manually.
I think the billing process would be more accurate because of the cross-checks that the computer does, whereas before we didn't have any checks.
ASIS sounds wonderful, but is it perfect? In a word, no. ASIS is dependent on human accuracy. Donna Wilson described the ASIS editing procedure.
When we run audits on ASIS, it goes through a number of edit checks, and it'll check, for example, if you've assigned a station to a specific LRF and that LRF doesn't exist, you'll get an error. Or if you've assigned an LRF and we don't have any stations working on that LRF, we'll also get an error. It'll edit the hardware to make sure they've ordered all the appropriate hardware, and also that the trunk groups match. There's a number of different edits involved in it.
If there's an error, ASIS will catch it, and the ordering process will be delayed. BJ asked Donna and Annie for some hints on how to avoid this problem.
I found on the cover sheet sometimes they forget to put the memory configuration, and on the trunk sheets there's a check. The computer does a check and balance thing against the sheets to just make sure that the forms are filled out correctly.
When marketing negotiates a dimension service request with a customer, they should start sending the paperwork to the business office on a piecemeal basis. As soon as the contract's signed, that way it doesn't take quite as long. What happens sometimes, because it is new, is that they'll send us the whole package when they're done with it. Well, then it's time-consuming to input the system into ACES and run the audit.
ACES is an indication of how a computer can help people do their job better. Unfortunately, computers always seem to produce more paper. How about a step in the other direction, reducing paperwork? Business Services has taken that first step. BSCs will no longer be preparing worksheets for many key system accounts. This plan was introduced in the Lansing BSC on June 9th and is scheduled to be completed statewide by the end of September. Some accounts are still exempt from the plan, such as U.S. government, MBT, and PBX accounts. Even so, the plan was well received by the Lansing BSC. BJ interviewed some BSC employees about the problems associated with the preparation of worksheets.
I probably handle like 3 or 4 worksheets a day, and frequently they're not in file, and if they are, they're not updated. You know, they go through so much. I don't really like to make any changes on the account without the worksheet or before I didn't. So you have to make a lot of callbacks, which results in, you know, unhappy customers.
The worksheet was a crutch that you did get used to using. You had a diagram there of the customer service at the premise and what lines were picked up, and you did get used to relying on that.
Worksheets were a problem because they were inaccurate. Plant complained because they didn't get them. Order typing queried us because they didn't get them, and they were illegible.
BJ also asked Colette about the problems worksheets caused I&M.
It caused a problem for them because the installation people would call us and say, we didn't get the worksheet. Service rep would say, well, I sent it. Well, we didn't get it, and we can't do the order until we do it, so they'd have to do it over again. And we didn't know where the breakdown was.
These problems have been eliminated by shifting some of the order negotiation responsibilities to the installation technician. The technician is now responsible for negotiating pickups, ringing and intercom configuration. Also, the information formally provided by the SR on a worksheet is now written on the order in narrative form. Keith Lundberg, I&M supervisor, emphasized the need for accurate, complete information and interdepartmental cooperation.
It's very important that the business service rep make sure they get every piece of information that's possible and that they do put it on the narrative, because in a couple of cases we went to the job, we went to install some equipment, and without having the related information as to what it was working with, it caused us to have second trips out to the job and a delay and a waste of time.
The Lansing office has been using the new method for several weeks. We interviewed Lou Pelton for her opinion of the plan. Lou had been responsible for copying the many worksheets and distributing them to various I&M work groups. Her reaction?
I think this plan's fantastic. It has probably given me about a half hour to an hour more time.
Sheet elimination has provided me a little more time to concentrate on sales and my actual order with the customer.
You have more time when you're writing your order. You don't have to worry about all these other things on the worksheets and so forth. And like I said, it makes it a lot easier.
I do have to put more detailed information in the remarks portion of my order, but I find that I can do that online with the customer while I'm talking, so that when I'm done with the contact, I can issue my order right away.
Less paperwork now. We don't have the complaints that they didn't get the worksheets because there's none to send. It's cutting down on the SR's time because they don't have to negotiate pickups with the customer anymore. And it's less work, I believe, for our order typing friends because they don't have to query us anymore.
If we work together with the BSC and they give us the proper information and give us a good contact person, somebody reliable to work with, that we can make it work without the key sheet.
As the Bell system progresses into the information age, accurate and efficient communication within the company grows even more important. How well Michigan Bell meets that challenge may determine our entire future. I'm Rick Hamilton for Business Journal.